All right. Shalom Akim, start the lesson. Doing to give all praise and all glory to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Rakakodash. Double honor to our apostle, elder, the great meals from the tell us his truth. Peace and blessings to the sincere Akim that's pushing his truth and all truth and sincerity around the four corners of the earth to lead to us, Shalom. Okay, everybody, you are we are from the great Mustang Miami camp. And I come back to the spirit power of Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai to make another lesson. Okay, this lesson I'm going to how we are watching the downfall of our enemy and our enemies. Okay, because right now, we are watching the downfall of America ultimately. Seeing what's going on in the face of the earth with Iran and Israel. Okay, everybody's noticing that America is really losing this war. Okay, due to how strategically placed Iran is. America cannot just go and invade like how it really wants to. Okay, it is in a tight space because the only way for it to get there is by sea, because going there by air is very compromised. Okay, because they know that they will be shot out of the earth. They understand that they will be shot down from the shot out of the air. So that's why they're bringing their military ships and trying to pressure Iran to do those missile strikes from the sea, because they understand that they cannot just rush Iran. Iran has been waiting for this moment. Okay, and they can't just go put troops on the ground too. And if they do, and that's going to end, they probably already did. They know it's going to be catastrophic for them to do so. All right, but right now, okay, we are watching the downfall of America. We are watching the downfall of this kingdom. Okay, we are watching the end of this kingdom. All right, these nations that America thought was just little nations. These nations have just been slowly but surely preparing themselves for war for years now, man. So now when America tries to come and be the big bully, it's not going to work in their favor. Okay, they're going to be, let down. Okay, them trying to come and be the big bully, Slakia, them trying to come and be the hammer of the earth. But understand that America has had its time to rule, and now we're at the end of its rulership. Okay, yes, America was that top nation, and still is, but now we're watching the downfall of it. Okay, now we're watching the downfall of this place. All right, and I got just a picture or just some article or some post that was posted on social media. Every time I get a post about a war, I go and fact check it, to see if what was said was true. And it was on the lines where Iran had said that they have this new painful or powerful weapon that can end the war. So I just did my due diligence and went on Google and searched this AI interview. I said that Iran will use new weapon to end war. It says as of late 2026, Iran has threatened to use new painful weapons and tactical upgrades on its upgoing conflict with Israel and the United States, promising to punish the aggressor with capabilities not yet fully deployed. Reports indicate significant escalation with the potential use of new missiles, technologies, and methods. Right, man. And it says new weapon and threats. It says doomsday weapon claims, tactical upgrades, increased range, underwater and naval threats. Okay. It says despite these threats, U.S. officials, including President Trump, has claimed that Iran's ballistic missile capacity is massively degraded by the U.S.-Israel strikes, and have suggested that Iran is in a weak position, pushing for a deal to end the war. Which is not true, because Iran just said that they don't want to end the war. They don't want to come to any peace treaty with America. So that's not true. Iran is with it, man. Iran is really showing the world, okay, its true colors. All right, we are really watching this right now live. Okay, every day there's a new article about Iran. There's a new article about war, new article about things that's being taking place in Iran and Israel. Okay, and how America's really losing this war. Okay, America's not that big old nation that it used to be, man. People understand that people are not going to fight for America anymore. Okay, that's why the recruitment for the army has been at an all-time low. Okay, people are in debt. All right, nobody can really afford to live in this place. Okay, there's so much sodomy going on. All right, nobody, and then people are realizing that, yeah, they're not fighting for their American pride. They're just fighting for the 1948ers. Okay, those so-called Jewish people, man. That's what they fight for. All right, and people are starting to realize that Amalek is really in control of what America does. All right, and that's why these people are not going to go risk their lives to go do that, and that's why America's trying to, have recruiting because they're not getting their numbers, man. And that's that's one way you can see the downfall of a place too as well. All right, once you see that nobody wants to fight for fight for its country, okay, that's when that's when you have something wrong going on. Okay, and these nations are seeing that. That's why the title lesson is we are watching the downfall of this place. Because World War I. It's like I was saying, we are watching the downfall of America because people are not really fighting for this country anymore. All right, but I had a couple of precepts lined up low and less than this edifying. Okay, this is Joel 3 and verse 10. It says, beat your plowshares into pruning hooks, like beat your plowshares into swords and pruning hook into spears. Let the weak say I am strong. Right, man. And Iran is really putting that emphasis on this precept, man. Okay, they are telling these nations that they ready for America. They are really showing these other nations that we not scared of you. Okay, we not scared of America anymore. All right, because America did used to be that global superpower. All right, but now it's changed, man. Okay, times have changed, things have changed. We understand that we are at the end of this rulership, man. We are at the end of of America's rulership. Okay, there's the average rulership of a kingdom is usually around 250 years. Okay, and once once you do the math from when America was established to now, that's exactly 250 years, man. Okay, so we are watching the end of this, at least the end of the end of this rulership, and Yahushua is coming back to take the devil out of power and to set up his kingdom, man. Okay, and that's gonna happen through war. Okay, if you're talking about how the saints are take the kingdom, okay, the saints are the Israelites. We are going to take the kingdom, man, because Esau's not giving it up easily. Okay, and that and it's never happened like that where kingdoms were given up just easily, just willfully. All right, it's always through war. Okay, continuing on, this is Jeremiah 50, verse 23, and it says, "How is the hammer of the earth cut asunder and broken? How has Babylon become a desolation among the nations?" Right, man. The hammer of the earth. Who was the hammer of the earth? America. Okay, America was the hammer of the earth for, a long time now. All right, but understanding that, the Lord is going to take, this kingdom out of power, man. All right, the Lord is taking out, America. All right, the Lord going to be one to take this devil's kingdom out of power. All right. Continuing on, and ultimately too, with that, there's going to be a great destruction, man. The scriptures call this place, the line of confusion due to the amount of destruction that's going to happen to this place. It's not going to be noticeable. All right, that's what it means when it says line of confusion, in the scriptures. Another point that I want to make too, going into the topic of this lesson of how we are watching the downfall of our enemy. Is that it's that's me the Lord bringing this devil down. Okay, scripture say that I am against the Mount Seir. All right, and that's for a reason, man. Okay, Mount Seir, which is America, Babylon. All right. This is 2 Esdras 9 verse 5, and it says, "For it like as all that is made in the world had a beginning and an end, and the end is made manifest." And the end is manifest. Right now, we are at the end. All right, we are at the end of this kingdom. We're at the end of this rulership. Esau's kingdom is going out, and everybody's noticing it. Okay, there's no more hiding in this false American dream. okay, of America continuing anymore. All right, it's over, man. All right, here it is. You know, you have a whole war in the Middle East, okay, with Iran, and you know everybody's noticing how America's losing. Okay, but that's just prophesied for it to happen like that. All right, this is Ecclesiasticus or Sirach 25 in verse 7. It says, there be 9 things which I have in my heart to be happy, and the true and the 10th I will utter with my tongue. A man that has the joy of his children, and he that liveth to see the fall of his enemy. That's right, man. We are living to see the fall of our enemy. Okay, and our enemy is Esau, Edom, starting with the chief, that chief nation Amalek. We are living to see, the end of this rulership, the end of Esau's rulership, man. And it's a beautiful thing to see. All right, because we know that with the end of Esau's rulership comes the kingdom, comes true rulership on the face of the earth, man. That's what comes with that. All right, that's what we waiting for, man, and that's why, I went ahead and made the lesson going to how we are, we are at the end, okay, of this devil's rulership. Okay, we are watching the downfall of our enemy, and that's what we're doing, man. And our enemy is Esau, Edom, and these other nations. Okay, and we are watching the downfall of this place, man. So, hey, Lord, when this lesson is edifying, with that, I do want to give all praise and all glory to Yahweh Hashem Yahushua, Hashem Kakodash, the one of our apostles, out of great meals when that taught us the truth. Peace and blessing to the sincere Akim. With that, I do want to say Shalom.